So this is a really difficult video to make, but I have decided to sell my Model 1 mixer and keep the V10. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you why. But first, why did I buy this? Why did I buy this beautiful analog mixer? Well, this mixer, I believe, came out more than 10 years ago, and I wasn't even a DJ yet, but I was starting to get into electronic music. It was probably like around 2018, and I was really into techno at the time. I was a big fan of Richie Houghton, and when this mixer came out, I don't know what it was, but I just felt something in my heart, like I have to play on this mixer someday. And I watched every video that there was on YouTube about the Model 1 mixer, like every tech walkthrough video. And when I started DJing, which was during the pandemic, like 2020, 2021, I saved up enough money to buy this mixer. And I think what stood out to me the most was, at the time, like Richie Houghton, Carl Cox, I think Chris Liebing, Paco Osuna, a few people were playing on this mixer, and I just noticed how different it sounded compared to like the normal Pioneer mixer. So at the time I had this little DDJ 400 controller, and I would go out to clubs and I would, listen to other DJs play on the Pioneer, like DJM 900 and, your standard 4-channel mixer. And I just noticed that when people played sets on the Model 1, it sounded so much different. And I think that's the ethos of Play Differently, is to play differently. And that's what I wanted to do as a DJ. So I saved up money and I bought it, and I've had it now for over 3 years. I was so fascinated with how you could mix. It probably took me like a year to really figure out how to mix well with this. But just being able to like sculpt, like choose which frequency that you want to cut or boost. And the filters are just so smooth because it's an analog mixer compared to a digital mixer. And you can create such amazing builds, and the master filters work really well. And it's just so smooth. It's just designed really well. And I do not regret buying this mixer, learning this mixer. And even just holding it right now makes me want to keep it, but there are some reasons that I am going to sell it. One of the things that I really liked about this mixer compared to even something like the V10, which we'll talk about in a minute, is that it is analog, so it does not have a built-in sound card, which means that you can't just plug into it and record your mix. For example, you have an analog record out. That's a pro and a con, because you can't just plug into live stream from this mixer or something like that, but it also gives you like a warmer, nicer sound. And because there's no sound card built in, that means you need to have an external sound card, which costs more. And I currently have an Antelope Zen Tour, and before that I had a Motu Ultralight MK5. But when you have your own sound card, the sound is going to be better than any mixer that has a built-in sound card, whether it's a Pioneer or a Zone mixer, or really any mixer, because you're paying more for a high quality sound card. You get to adjust your sound settings and customize them, and so your sound is going to be different from other DJs that are just out there, plugging into CDJs with their pen drive. I also like that you can, have 6 channels, and you can use, Traktor, and you can just have a lot of creative freedom and flexibility with having 6 channels. And then also, because of, this thing is a beast. Like, there's so many ins and outs. Like, you can really connect all sorts of equipment to this mixer. There's no limit to your creativity with like what kind of hardware you're attaching, and pedals and effects, and like anything external that you want to create. I got this mixer because I knew that it's a mixer that you can have for life, and it can keep growing with you. It can keep evolving with you. Your setup can keep changing, and you're never going to get bored. So that was another reason why I liked it. And also, when I moved to Miami during the pandemic, there were 2 other guys that had this mixer. One was my mentor. His name is Matias, also known as Differ here in Miami. And then also Coco Drills, which is a brother duo that have had this mixer, I believe, since the very beginning, maybe since before it came out. And they have their own show where they headline during the high season here in Miami, and they always are switching out this mixer, or switching out the standard Pioneer mixer with this one, and playing incredible sets where, you know, one is focused on mixing the tracks and the other is focused on using like Ableton to create effects and builds and things like that. So I got to see this mixer up close and personal, and I've also been to Richie Houghton shows at Space and in Europe, and just love the sound of this mixer. So I became obsessed with it and learned how to play it, and even like would go to Amsterdam Dance Event and like hang out with the Allen and Heath guys, and actually met Richie Houghton and got to like play and test the mixer there. So I really feel like it became kind of an extension of my personality as a DJ, and I never thought I would sell it. But let's get to those reasons. One of the main reasons why I'm selling this mixer is because I am not Richie Houghton. I'm not a famous DJ. I'm not a touring DJ, and very few people use this mixer, which means when I go out and play gigs, whether it's in Miami or in other countries, no one has this mixer. So the whole time that I am practicing at home, you know, practicing my live set, my hybrid set, I'm practicing on equipment that I won't be able to use in real life. And even though I've had this mixer for 3 years, I've only ever played on it at a club one time, and that was with my mentor, because we were the only 2 people on the lineup. We were playing all night long. I think I played like a 3 or 4 hour set, and then he played until close. And we came in, it was at Do Not Sit. We took all of the equipment away, you know, their Pioneer mixer, like 4 CDJs, we just took everything out, you know, thanks to their sound guy, and we installed a Model 1 mixer with our sound cards, you know, respective sound cards. He had his push, we had our K2s, and we just played all night long, and it was so much fun. And I have the set recorded, but I don't have the video, so I will link to the SoundCloud audio recording of that set in the description below. But that is the only time that I've been able to use this mixer at a club, and it's because unless you're headlining or playing at really big venues, it doesn't make sense to go to a venue and play like a 1 hour set or 90-minute set and go in and switch out the mixers, because a lot of times there's not even that much room, and sometimes you might only have a mixer with 2 CDJs. So even to bring like my K2, my push, my laptop, like I don't even play my hybrid set out that much, let alone, you know, show up to a club with my mixer where there's usually not even anyone doing like the tech or, you know, sound at the club. I'm the tech person there. So to be on a lineup full of other DJs and then try to change over to my full hybrid setup with my Model 1 mixer is just not very practical. I realized that it could be years before I would ever be able to play at venues like festivals and, you know, maybe at Space and larger venues where it would even be worth having your writer and having which mixer and equipment that you want and being able to switch that out. You know, if I was someone like Paco Osuna or Richie Houghton or even Nicole Mudaber used to play with this mixer and has since switched to the V10, I don't know why, but you know, you can say that you want to use this mixer and then have them switch it out. And I've even rented this exact mixer to Iglesias, who was playing here at Mode Miami earlier this year, and I was the only one that had this mixer in town, so they rented it from me. And you know, I went there, and you know, I've seen how they change over between mixers, but it really only makes sense when you're headlining and you're playing at least a 2 hour set. And people like Iglesias travel all around the world, and now, you know, this mixer, they're able to get it at all the venues that they play at. But I have to be realistic, and that's not me. You know, I'm not a headline DJ. I am in like smaller venues now, but you know, I'm not a touring DJ that's like going around saying I need this mixer and I need this and that on my writer to be able to play at your venue. Like if I'm someone like Fisher or Nicole Mudaber or any kind of big DJ, then sure, but that's maybe still a while off. And I realized that I was spending all of my time practicing on a mixer that I won't be able to use. This V10 is now the club standard in most cases, and you might even find it at like a small local bar in town. and it's really easy to access. So it's a lot more practical to practice on this mixer because then I can use it when I go to the club versus having this mixer. And my mentor also sold his because he said to me the other day, it's a lot easier to just plug in a cable than it is to connect your sound card and everything that you need to be able to play with this mixer. And he was always really specific about, which sound card he used, and he had, the top of the line Antelope sound card, same one as Paco and Richie, I believe. And now he's just gone to plugging into the V10, which doesn't have as good of sound, but it is what it is. Another reason is this YouTube channel, because I like to do live streams on the channel, and I publish a video here every week, and it does take more work to be able to live stream from this, whereas with the V10, I can literally just plug my cell phone into the mixer and stream and record from the mixer directly. So it makes it a lot faster and easier. And it's not like I'm so lazy to hook everything up to this, but when it comes to creation, it's really important to remove friction to be able to publish and show up more often. And so it's more streamlined to just play from this mixer. And another reason is space. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I do have this large workbench that fits my full hybrid setup, but I don't really have anywhere to put this mixer, and so it's sadly been living in my closet lately, but it's also not very practical to switch the mixer in and out at my house, just as it's not so practical to do that in the club. So if I had a large house with a studio and not just a 1-bedroom apartment where I'm literally playing in my living room, then I would keep this because I could have it set up, and then it would just be a matter of moving my laptop over to plug in and play there versus having to, disconnect everything here just to use this for fun. I also really like that there are external effects and internal effects built into the V10. The Model 1 only has filters. It doesn't have any external effects. So it's been really fun to use the delays, the reverb. There's also, external effects that you can plug in if you want to use external hardware. And then you have all of the Pioneer internal effects that you would find on other mixers. You actually have the most effects compared to smaller 4-channel Pioneer mixers. So before I had this, the only time that I would have to practice with effects was when I was playing a gig, and that's not really the best time to experiment. So it has been nice to, be able to experiment more with the built-in effects here, and, being able to plug in directly to your computer. And also this mixer has a master filter, and yeah, it does not sound as good as the Model 1 master filter, and there are individual channel filters on each channel just like the Model 1, and they're not as good, they're not as smooth, but I don't know if anyone notices that other than me. And it does create the effect that you're going for, and you've got the low pass filter and the high pass filter. On the Model 1 we have the low pass filter here and the high pass filter here, and wow, when you're just touching the knobs, you really notice the difference. And you also have your filters individual on each channel, and here you have one filter on each channel that you can change between low and high pass. So yeah, it accomplishes the same thing, although it's not as good. And one of the biggest reasons why I'm selling the Model 1 is because I'm moving to Europe next year. And I have traveled and lived in Europe before with my Model 1, but I just can't bring so much stuff with me. So I'm deciding if I will bring this with me. The V10 is so incredibly heavy. It probably weighs 2 or 3 times more than the Model 1. But then with the Model 1, you've got the sound card and everything else. But I'm going to be in Romania for a while, and I don't know if I'll be stable in one house or if I'll be moving around to different houses throughout the year. And ultimately I'll be settling in Amsterdam, where I do want to buy a house and have my own place and have a studio and have more equipment. So I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with all of my equipment. I have an RMX here, I have my push. I want to bring everything with me, but I would have to probably ship it. And so that's why I'm thinking just sell the Model 1 now before I leave. So this has been a really difficult decision for me. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever had to decide between these two mixers, or if you've been thinking about buying one, and I will link to both of the mixers and my entire setup in the description below if you'd like to check out any of my gear. Please subscribe if you liked this video, and if you'd like to see how I play differently on the Model 1, then watch these videos next.